All right, and welcome to Fast Break Breakfast NBA podcast. My name is Keith Parrish, and I'm here once again with my buddy through the miracle of computer phone. I'm here with Dave DeFore. Dave, how are you doing?
I'm playing Keith this week because I got sick for the first time in 2 years.
Were you around children?
You know what?
Carriers of disease? You were.
Well, because I go to a rock climbing gym, So not only I'm around people that have kids at home.
That whole wall is norovirus.
This gym doesn't have a ton of kids in it, but they started doing like their winter, hey, come be active camps.
Yeah.
And so there've been like 10 or 15 kids. Yeah, I think it's a homeschool group or something, but those homeschool groups, right?
Homeschoolers probably not as bad with the illness because they haven't picked up all the diseases of the filth of the public and whatever. I'm actually recording this. I'm recording this right now from a school. So if you're on YouTube, obviously you see not in my normal background. I apologize for the way it's lit. I apologize. My breakfast in bed apology is wearing the world's most boring button-up shirt, which is just what I do.
Matches the wall so well.
Yeah, it's just there's no color in the video right now whatsoever. But this whole place, I think I've told you before. I've told the listeners before. I wore the mask to this school just up until basically months ago, where I'm like, I don't care that COVID is sort of over, even though it's not over. I work in a school. It's disgusting. It's disease everywhere. I'm just going to keep wearing the mask, even if people look at me funny. This year, I'm like, whatever. What do I have to live for? I'm just going to stop doing it. But now they're all talking about like, hey, guys, this new virus, apparently everybody's down with. Hand sanitizer doesn't do it. Make sure you wash your hands. And then I walk in a room and I see a kid playing the piano I'm supposed to be playing. And I'm like, who told you could touch that piano? And now I'm like, Lysol. I'm like,
do you get the wipes? All right.
But then I'm like, now I'm just like, I should be wearing a mask. Who am I trying to be afraid of being mocked by? Just there's Keith, so much disease everywhere.
You should make a little spray bottle that's like bleach and water solution. Get off the wipes. Just...
Yeah,
bad for the environment.
We should jump.
I was reading about some super pneumonia. Let's do a CDC podcast.
I don't know if it's super pneumonia where the CDC isn't allowed to tell anyone about their findings anymore. It isn't a super pneumonia, but I will tell you, if you're a parent out there, you're probably aware of this. If you have a school-aged kid, there's this walking pneumonia that all kids are getting, which is very mild, except it knocks your kid out of school for like a full week, which isn't, again, if you can stay home, I guess it's not horrible. If you work from home, not horrible, because like my kid had it fever 7 straight days. I mean, you can't send the kid to school, but she felt fine basically. So it's like a mild symptom, but you have a fever the whole time. So that ends fast. Well, we call it outbreak breakout. That's what we call it.
Outbreak breakout.
That's your outbreak breakout opening. And we're going to jump right past breakfast and bed apologies because we have a short time frame to record this show. I guess let's start big picture, Dave. We're forced to talk about, I like talking about transactions, but we're forced to talk about De'Aaron Fox of the Sacramento Kings, who are tied for the second best record in the NBA over the past 15 games. De'Aaron Fox wants out. Apparently, Clutch has named the intended destination. Is it truly, Dave, the San Antonio Spurs? Are people forcing their way out of okay situations to go play for the Spurs? Is this where we are?
I think De'Aaron Fox definitely is. That makes so much sense. It's going to be perfect if that happens. Look, De'Aaron Fox probably has the realization that he's not a number one, like 1A. Maybe he can be a 1B. To someone. And if you think about Wemby and some of the offensive limitations he's got right now, for the time being, De'Aaron Fox would actually kind of help cover some of those up and enhance Wemby quite a bit. So I get the fit completely. I totally understand wanting to go play with a guy who's going to be one of, if not the greatest player to ever play, just like if everything works out, right? So I totally understand that. It's rare that we see a guy with De'Aaron Fox's status doing something like this, right? Like usually it's like, Kevin Love wants to go play with LeBron or Chris Bosh wants to go play. But De'Aaron Fox, I feel like, is a little bit more highly regarded than
hang on
at that time.
You just said Chris Bosh. Chris Bosh, when he left the Raptors to join the Heat, I think was a better player league-wide than De'Aaron Fox is right now. I mean, De'Aaron Fox, I don't do rankings. What are we talking? Ballpark 30th?
I'm just throwing him in the 40th, same basket.
Top 40? He's not a top 20 player.
No, but he's probably top 30. I'm just throwing him in a
if
similar
he's
basket,
your number
right?
2, you can maybe get somewhere if the rest of the roster is great and you have an absolute alpha, and maybe Wembanyama's that. If this is true, if we're making a lot of leaps here, if it truly is the Spurs, why would the Spurs do this? Because you're okay. I mean, you're playing bound, but like you have all your own picks. What's the rush?
Yeah.
If De'Aaron Fox wants to come here in a year and a half, great. Why don't we do that and still have all our draft picks?
I mean, I think that they have all the leverage, right? Yeah. Because they're also it's not like they're in a push to a title. They're not even really in a playoff push. Like they're in a push to the
play-in if they play well, which is also, who knows?
Yeah. So even the value of getting him now isn't really worth it, right? Like for them, like why not just play it out and wait till the summer? Because the price will go down. So even this summer, the trade price will go down because you're only getting that one full season. So I don't know why San Antonio would be in any rush outside of trying to get him in-house if you want him, because if someone else gets him, they are the front runners to sign him to an extension. So if De'Aaron Fox is a guy that you want to bring him in now via trade, just it takes out the guesswork. Hey, we don't have to hope that he's going to kick the can to free agency and won't take an extension with this next team. But like if he goes to a good spot, I mean, like if he goes to the Clippers, he'll sign an extension.
Yeah.
If a couple of the other teams that were mentioned, what was it?
I feel like the Nets were the Nets expressed interest through the media.
Well, but the Nets have been, a lot of people have been thinking about the summer of 2026. And I have to give Clutch a little bit of credit here for getting De'Aaron Fox out ahead of 2026.
Sure.
To be honest with you, right? Like that's going to be a big free agency summer. There's going to be a lot of guys getting moved, I think, next year. So, in a lot of ways, maybe the Kings are even being smart by dodging some of that stuff where they do probably have, I think he's the most attractive asset that's available on the market, right? Like unless there's a high lottery pick that's
the term available
is
the important caveat to that. And
exactly.
I'm of a couple of minds here. I mean, one, I feel like I'm forced to make a joke anytime you can lock down the 7th best point guard in the NBA. You have to, like you have to move all your stuff. Maybe he's 5th. I'm not sure, but like, it's weird for the Nets. Where like I get it. Okay, you're gonna have cap space. You want to have a good player, but also it literally destroys your flag for flag this season unless you get him on a Larry Markkinen plan. Like, hey, I'm just not going to play this year. You didn't mention the Heat. To me, it makes a little bit more sense for the Heat in a win now if they could work out. Well, here's one. Like, would you just trade Tyler Hero and some stuff for De'Aaron Fox if you're the Heat?
Oh, if I'm the Heat, yeah.
And would that be something where Jimmy Butler finds a rejuvenation or no? Jimmy's just
I don't
out.
think so.
Okay.
I think Jimmy's out. Well, it's not even Jimmy needing a rejuvenation. They don't want to give Jimmy a contract.
Right. That part of it's hard. Maybe you could be like, Jimmy, play the rest of the year with De'Aaron and then, go into the offseason.
Well, so Jimmy Butler is up against the 38 rule, right? The under 38 rule. So for him, he needs to opt out and sign his last big contract this summer. But if he has to stay there and opt in to potentially move somewhere else, he's going to lose. I don't know. I looked at the numbers and I think it's like $100 million, maybe more, in career earnings if he doesn't get this pulled off. So that's his impetus, right? It has nothing to do with basketball.
Now, the one thing about De'Aaron Fox and his force out based on Clutch, or his reported rumored force out, it is interesting. The Lakers haven't been mentioned at all. Are they they're just out?
No, they were mentioned.
Oh, they were. Okay.
Want to go to the Lakers.
He doesn't want to go. Yeah. And it does seem like, listen, I'm not an insider with the Kings Lakers rivalry, but it's a famous rivalry.
Yeah.
And there comes a point of spite, I feel like, in your sports fandom in your life where you're just like, you know what? If I'm the Kings, I'm like, oh no, I'm sorry. I would rather burn my house down than have you go.
So apparently he just built a house in Houston. So Houston is on the list. San Antonio is not.
He's got a Texas
Houston.
background. He's from Texas.
Right.
Is that right?
Yeah, I guess.
Something like that.
Yeah. There's too many guys. So, I think being close to there makes some sense. I mean, San Antonio makes a ton of sense for him. If he somehow was the point guard of the Houston Rockets, I think that would make a lot of sense. But I love that Houston is just standing pat.
But Houston makes more sense generally to me because they seem like they're maybe on the precipice. And they obviously have had an amazing couple of weeks. And Amen Thompson has ascended. He's become Scottie Pippen Sr. And I'm so used to saying Scottie Pippen Jr. I almost did. He's become the real Scottie Pippen. And with them this close, that you're like, okay, he's still not an alpha. And I still feel like if you look at the Rockets and like competing for a title this year, and again, the wins over the Cavs and the Celtics of late, you think, all right, the 2 seed in the West, if you got a De'Aaron Fox, but you still don't have the alpha. You still don't have your traditional, even a Jason Tatum level player where you can surround with but we have a bunch of 1Bs.
That's what the Rockets need.
But I feel like, so even in that scenario, I might be wrong here. I don't consider De'Aaron Fox to be like even Jaylen Brown level, where I'm like, if Jason Tatum's like he's like a 1A prime. It's not, he's not quite a top MVP guy, but for the Rockets, it's all like you have just a bunch of second bananas, and I don't know if that makes him good enough. Again, then the
Fox would be the king of the second bananas.
I mean,
but I think he would be the best player on the Rockets if he went there, and he would offer a lot of clarity for them, especially the end of games. Like they fall apart in fourth quarters because I think they don't have a guy who everything has to run through. Like Şengün is not as he's actually like some of his issues become glaring in fourth quarters when he's trying to isolate and go one-on-one. But part of that is the Rockets offense, but part of it is they don't have a guy like De'Aaron Fox who's like, give me the ball.
Jabari Smith plus
Reed
how
Shepherd?
Many first rounds? So if you do Jabari,
would you send Reed Shepherd?
I feel like the Rockets are not going to pull the plug on that, not their front office.
They're not going to make a move, I don't think.
I'm just saying, all right, float this one. They have multiple first round picks. If you gave them a good first round pick and Jabari Smith Jr., like it's pretty good. And then
I'd at least think about it.
The question for me is, if you're the Rockets, and like you said, maybe they're not interested, do you keep Fred VanVleet or do you use Fred VanVleet as the matching salary? Because Fred VanVleet's a good ball player.
Salary. Yeah. And
you could include Dylan Brooks. You could include, they got the salaries. Jason Tate, right? Steven Adams.
Yeah.
The Rockets have salaries.
All of these guys that you're naming, Keith, like I have watched, I mean, I watch a lot of games, as everybody knows. And I have watched so many Houston Rockets games because their games are amazing. They're a lot of fun. But they have, like, all of their guys are low-key important to the team. Like, this is a weird thing to say. Jason Tate is playing center minutes for them at the end of games sometimes and like, actually crushing. Yeah. So, like, they don't win the game last night against Atlanta if Jason Tate isn't out there doing stuff. So, I get, like, I totally understand this team being kind of in love with their guys a little bit and wanting to see this out for the year. I actually I applaud the patience.
Yeah.
They have dudes. Jalen Green could be De'Aaron Fox.
Interesting.
Like, it's not out of the realm of possibility to me that he becomes that level of player. And he defends. So, like, he's got some potential. And, they signed him to that extension that's kind of, it's funny to call it an extension that's multiple years make good, but it was like a good deal for Houston to see what they've got and also allows him to get out early. But, I just don't know, like, is it enough of an upgrade from what they already have? And maybe not, but I like that they're seeing it out. Is there a team that wasn't mentioned that like De'Aaron Fox fits for you? Because I've got one.
I mean, I always, when we talk about guards who can score, who are any good, I think about the Orlando Magic. Yeah. Like they finally trailed off. Like we haven't recorded together in a few weeks. I did a solo show last week. There was a Patreon only episode, if you did not know, a couple of weeks ago, but in the time we haven't talked, they finally got Paolo back. Franz Wagner's come back. Goga just played the other day, but like, they finally gave up the ghost a little bit as far as
we don't have Jalen Suggs,
but like they also Suggs has been out, but they finally have struggled enough, but like they still organizationally are so solid And like, they're so good and have so much talent where that's one. It's why we thought they would make a run at Malik Monk over the summer.
Right.
And so that's one where, yes, if you could get De'Aaron Fox to the Magic, does he have a home in Orlando? Apparently not, De'Aaron Fox. So
I mean, it's another state without income tax, but the property tax
that
is crazy,
whole,
just like
that
Texas.
whole, listen, as someone who lives in a state without income tax, it's a scam. The sales tax and property tax
the sales taxes are crazy, guys.
Yeah.
I have had this conversation since I moved to California. And it's like, man, I don't even buy gas.
I am getting murdered on property tax over here. No, I don't. The Magic are also a team where it just comes down to acquisition cost. If you don't have to send out that much stuff, and that's why I do think the Rockets one is interesting and makes sense.
Would you give up Suggs?
This is how I do fantasy basketball too, Dave. If I'm trying to bring in a good player, I don't want to lose any of my good players either.
Oh,
what's the point? What's the point of spending first round draft picks and Jalen Suggs, who's a great possible, all defense first team type guard. I want to keep him and bring in the guy who's not as good at defense, So like, I want to keep everything. I don't know if the Magic, I think patience for the Magic makes sense. I think patience for the Rockets, like you said, makes sense, but it becomes tantalizing if it isn't maybe that expensive or something.
Also, it's the parity thing is real. Yeah. It is real. And if you're the Rockets right now, I mean, they have really got some huge wins this season. I think that they probably have the Grizzlies number. I'm sorry to tell you that, Keith. I think tomorrow night.
Sorry, finish your thought. Then I do want to talk more about the Rockets.
If you're them and you're looking around and you're saying, okay, look, nobody's perfect. Nobody, including us. OKC is not perfect. They're running away with the regular season. Not perfect. Anybody can be beat. It's all going to be, the styles of the fight that are going to make the matchups when we get to the playoffs. I firmly believe that. Like, I think that there are teams that Oklahoma City absolutely needs to avoid. I think the Houston Rockets could surprise some people and be in the Western Conference Finals. And so if you're in that position, let's say they feel the same way as me. They want to see what they do, right? Man, I can totally understand talking yourself into, hey, De'Aaron Fox might be just good enough, just more solid enough, doesn't turn the ball over enough, that he could get us over the hump. And maybe we win 5 extra possessions, and that's the difference between making it to the finals or not. I see it.
Yeah, let's talk about the Rockets.
Let's do it.
So, like, the Rockets, of course, Amen Thompson getting a lot of credit since he became the full-time starter with Jabari Smith Jr.'s injury. They've been crushing people. Just in January, the Rockets, all right, maybe you didn't believe in the Rockets until this week, but like, maybe you didn't believe them when they beat the Grizzlies in back-to-back games and then blew out the Nuggets the game after that. But then this week, to beat the Cavaliers in back-to-back games, then to go on the road and beat the Rockets. Luckily, they did not have a letdown. They almost let it slip away against the Hawks. But like, they've been crushing they've been beating the best teams in the NBA. By the way, this month, I mean, Amen Thompson averaging 19 points, 11 rebounds, 4 assists, 2.5 steals, and a block per game. So like, they've gotten all the marquee victories. Why not? Sorry, go back to De'Aaron Fox. Why not Dillon Brooks as the matching salary? Is his 10 3-pointers against the Celtics?
They can't do it.
You can't lose him. You can't lose that guy.
Honestly, he's been too good and too important for them.
I feel like if you include that 10 made threes against the Celtics, Dillon is shooting 30% on threes in the past, in the past 3 weeks. I love Dillon Brooks. We talked about this over on The Athletic. I was dying that I had to watch the Grizzlies get humiliated by the Knicks. I'm watching Ja Morant, supposedly one of the most entertaining players in the league, sulk his way through a -41. Meanwhile, the electric Dillon Brooks on the other channel was making 10 3-pointers. Here's what I say. I do actually think that they could keep Fred VanVleet, use Dillon Brooks, maybe Steven Adams, maybe another player for the matching salary, and then bring in De'Aaron Fox. And like, I think you play De'Aaron Fox. Fred VanVleet can guard dudes. He can guard big twos. And then like a man at the 3 or the 4 or whatever, like Jalen Green is in there. Like, I think they could be great. But anyways, even if they don't, the Rockets right now doing something pretty special. Is there more you want to say on them?
No, I mean, listen, I literally have basically turned the daily into the Rockets show because they've just been so much fun. I mean, every game they play in is entertaining and compelling.
Yeah.
There's a certain amount of run through a brick wall attitude that the whole team has, and I love that. I don't I don't necessarily love that they're always looking to fight, but I appreciate that they're ready to fight when the fight comes. And I think that that's a
Also,
good attitude to have for a basketball team.
They are walking this tightrope of making massive mental mistakes down the stretch. You had Dylan Brooks maybe possibly flirting with a flagrant or a technical in the final seconds, winning against Trae Young. You had the Tari Eason 3-shot foul against the Cavaliers. Then Darius Garland blows that. I'll say it, blows that game. He's a plus 90% free throw shooter. Misses. Did he miss 4 or 5 free throws in the game?
He was 2 of 7,
including the two clutch free throws. So Dylan made 10 3-pointers. There actually have been another handful of guys making remarkable statistical achievements around the number 10. Let's get to that actually right after this short break. All right, Dave, I love stats. I love Dylan Brooks making 10 3-pointers, but a couple of other numbers have caught my eye since we last podcasted together. One of them, Trae Young had 11 turnovers in the game. So that's pretty impressive. Also, Trae Young broke his streak of 202 consecutive games, having at least 5 assists. This was all in a loss to the Raptors. Raptors showing some signs of life. We appreciate that. You're now bad with honor. Congratulations. In that game, Trae Young, 4 assists, 11 turnovers. By the way, we should mention the Hawks having a rough go of it. They've now lost Jalen Johnson for the season. They do not control their draft pick thanks to the DeJounte Murray trade, one of the DeJounte Murray trades. But the Hawks are struggling. Anyways, Trae Young, 11 turnovers. That's cool. But you know what's cooler, Dave? Cade Cunningham being the first player ever, at least since we have stats. The first player, Dave, since 1983. The only player since 1983, Dave. You don't even know this. I can tell by your face. I didn't know this. Here's the thing. Here's how I consume basketball now, Dave. It is not as public or communal as it used to be, as sometimes in my life. Right. It's kind of in a bubble. I watch the NBA every night. Every now and then, my wife's reading on her Kindle. I'm like, hey, did you see that play? That's funny. Check this out. And she's like, that's great, honey. But there's news sometimes I miss totally. Oh, yeah. There was that Colin Sexton game. He had 10 turnovers. I didn't find out for weeks later. I'm going to tell you something.
Finding out.
I'm going to tell you something that's never happened before. It's not on Basketball Reference. It happened for the very first time a week ago. I've heard nothing about it. I don't know if they're talking about it on ESPN. I don't know if it's been covered in the New York Times. Cade Cunningham became the first player ever to have 10 turnovers in consecutive games.
Missed it.
No one talked about it.
I talked about the turnovers, but I missed the back-to-back games.
I mean, maybe Jumpin' Joe Fulks did it back in the 40s or 50s or whatever.
I mean, those guys weren't really dribbling a lot.
They really weren't. By the way, I'm coaching a 7-year-old basketball team. We're breaking out the no dribble practice. We're basically playing. It's frankly ultimate Frisbee. Like you can't run with the ball. You have a pivot foot, but we just got to pass it. Actually, I'm reading this book on the ancient, I call it ancient basketball, on the originators of the jump shot. I'm reading about this guy, Whitey Scooge. But anyways, the Basketball Reference database only has complete turnover stats back to 83-84. Cade Cunningham became the first player with 10 turnovers.
Making history.
In consecutive games. But is it history if no one even talks about it?
I mean, it's still...
That upsets me.
Yeah, he's at the top of the list.
Yeah,
most back-to-back double-digit turnover games.
But Cade and the Pistons, at least, they have a thing going on. And also, it's like, we should do a victory lap, Dave. You should do a victory lap. We haven't done it publicly. Are you ready?
Oh, yeah.
Let's run the highlight package. I'm getting the producer. We got that B-roll of Tobias Harris. Let's do a victory lap for Tobias Harris being better than Paul George. Go, Dave.
Professional basketball player, Tobias Harris.
Shows up
to work every night.
Shows up to work.
Hey, you know who else has been awesome this year? Harrison Barnes.
Shows up to work.
Showing up to work matters, man. How's that working out, Philly?
Harrison Barnes cannot be the matching salary in the De'Aaron Fox trade.
Actually, there is a mechanism by which the Pistons could wind up getting, John Hollinger wrote about it, and everybody knows he's the guy, but the Pistons could wind up taking Harrison Barnes and getting another professional basketball player
for Tim Hardaway Jr. Is that
to
the
somehow,
salary?
to somehow facilitate a trade.
That's the whole thing. I've even seen people float like the Pistons are being pretty good, and like as a Grizzlies podcaster, I'm trying to send Marcus Smart anywhere, and I'm like, what about Marcus Smart for just expiring Tim Hardaway Jr.?
Doesn't he feel like he's going to be a Piston at some point?
It feels like, at least I've always said, an Eastern Conference team who remembers Marcus Smart, that's your best shot. Yeah, but like even talking about like Jimmy Butler trades, like what are the Pistons? It's like, man, the Pistons have a thing. And maybe you don't want to short circuit it, but like they have professionals who show up. Tim Hardaway Jr. and Tobias Harris show up. You were pointing out, so Tobias compared to Paul George this year, Sixers got in the Paul George business. By the way, Paul George hurt his finger again. Just bad luck, seems like. But Paul George is not getting to the line this year. And Tobias Harris, like more wins for Tobias. Obviously more games played, but like scoring, everything. Like Tobias Harris is like the player you'd rather have right now. Seems like
Philly would be better today if they had Tobias Harris on the roster all year rather than Paul George. They would just be better. They would have more wins. They would be a more solid team without Embiid. I mean, the thing is, man, I actually think availability is going to be way more valuable in this new CBA, especially with the team building restrictions. I just can't imagine we're going to see a league where guys are consistently playing 55, 60 games a year and keeping huge money. That's going to be Luka Doncic level or above. And I guess Embiid is there, but how long?
Embiid missed his 400th game of his career, but obviously he's a guy. It's a special circumstance. He was someone everyone knew coming in broken. He came in with severe injury concerns, and he obviously was league MVP. And when he's available to go, he's incredible. But they're dealing with that. But everyone else you talk about, I think it starts becoming like a greater thing where it's like, can I depend on this guy playing? Like, you
better be like Kawhi Leonard, Joel Embiid, or Luka Doncic. That's it. Like you have to be a guy who can go win a title.
It's become a sensitive subject for me as a Grizzlies podcaster, perhaps one of the most preeminent Grizzlies podcasters. It's like, what about John Morant? It's like, John Morant can't play. John Morant can't play 6 games in a row.
Right.
And it's like, what do we like? So you think about, all right, the postseason, there's no back-to-backs. So hopefully you can just manage everything to get there. But I don't know. There's a value for the Tobias Harris who takes care of his body by never taking a charge. Good job, Tobias. Right. No reason to risk injury. It's better for you to show up. Also, I don't mean to mention fantasy basketball twice in the same show. This is my fantasy basketball strategy. I want to pass
Siakam get hurt
because he plays basketball games. Like, I can't have a Lauri Markkanen maybe sitting out games. By the way,
let me ask you about Embiid before we move on.
Okay.
Because I've been thinking about Embiid as like a sunk cost.
Okay.
Like, what are our expectations of Joel Embiid for like the remainder of whatever his career looks like, right?
The remainder $250 million on his contract?
Right. Like, is he playing? Like, what's the incentive to play?
I think your expectation is Kawhi Leonard the last 3 seasons, and you hope you're healthy come playoffs. Like Kawhi Leonard just finally kicked it up past 24 minutes. Kawhi Leonard looks awesome.
He's great.
He's so good at basketball, even at this limited, like, it feels like, I don't know, 70% athleticism from what we're used to from him.
I think he's also, I will say this. I've seen so much Kawhi Leonard in my life that he, and even having the surgery last year and coming back, right? He looks like he's kind of taking it easy.
Yeah.
I don't know if you noticed, like, especially on some of the dribble drive stuff, like he's really like being methodical. It's almost like he's like working stuff out. I think
there's a level of comfort.
Yeah.
Where you understand that no one's stopping my move.
Right.
I don't actually have to go fast.
Well, he's got that arm.
Yeah.
He's got that strong left arm.
I'm with you. That's where I say, like, he's moving. Maybe it's deceptive. Maybe it's that Eric Dickerson running back speed. You're like, he's just jogging. Oh, he's faster than ever. No, Kawhi made an incredible reverse layup a couple of games ago. And then he tried maybe the hardest reverse layup I've ever seen. I think it was in the most recent game. He missed it, but it was just like he's just trying stuff out. I think Kawhi Leonard is the example for what you're hoping for from Embiid, which I don't know if it's a great place to be. I was going to talk about.
I did see Joel Embiid doing handstands, which
Yeah.
That's a good sign, man. Like I saw that it was like a little bit controversial. Oh, he's playing around. No, that's good. That means he probably feels okay. Like,
Yeah.
or at least he's getting back to health. I'd like to see that guy play.
I remember what I wanted to say. We were talking about Tobias Harris. We're talking about guys who maybe take it easy. Jeremy Grant came to mind. Jeremy Grant's been a punching bag for a while on a player. He hasn't played in April. What, in 4 years? He hasn't played a game in April because he's always shut down. The Trailblazers right now have a pulse. The Trailblazers are a fun team. Scoot Henderson getting a lot of attention for his energetic play. A Rising Stars snub, which I'm going to talk about in a second. Toumani Camara is a good ball player. But Jeremy Grant has been a punching bag for guys like me with our podcasts, talking about players who just keep cashing them checks. The Trailblazers have actually won 7 of their last 9 games that Jeremy Grant plays in.
Yeah.
Like, they're legit.
He got hurt last night.
He did. He left the game. Yeah. So hopefully he's okay. But like the Trailblazers have something going on. Actually, yeah, I want to talk about the Rising Stars game. So Dave,
can we talk about Denny Advia?
Playing great too.
This guy, what he's been doing up there this year. I mean, their recent stretch of really like not just respectable basketball, good basketball. Denny Avdia with the ball in his hands, just making stuff happen, and then letting it fly from 3. That's a game changer. They've got, and we said this before the year. Portland's a team that I understand that their organization is trying to tank, but they have so many guys that they're going to have to be creative about how they tank. And obviously they've done a pretty good job of being creative at tanking, but man, they have some guys like DeAndre Ayton, even every now and then, like last night, shows you stuff. And it's like, man, if it was 1988, this guy would be one of the 10 best players in the league.
Yeah. Speaking of, so Avdia, that actually, I think can slightly inform our De'Aaron Fox discussion, because the Trailblazers went into acquisition mode because they felt the price was okay. They're willing to trade that lottery pick that became Bub Carrington because Avdia was a guy they had coveted, and they said, that's just a good ball player. I want to have that guy on my team, even though we're not going to be good anytime soon. Maybe that could inform a team like the Nets, who are like, you know what, let's just get De'Aaron Fox now. The Trailblazers have been pretty good, and actually I am outraged that Toumani Camara is not named to the Rising Stars roster. So Toumani Camara easily better than I would say than a handful of these guys. So the Rising Stars Challenge, they've gone back to sophomores versus rookies. They had the past couple of years because the world versus US was it was getting weird. Bad players were getting included. The sophomore team, it's not like outrageously, it's not horrible. They named like Wemby's on it. He's going to be an all-star. So there's going to be a spot there. Amen Thompson made it. Is he going to be an all-star, Dave? I don't think so. It's too late.
I don't think so. But man, how's he not in a dunk contest, Keith?
There's no glory in the dunk contest.
Yeah.
Derek Lively's on it. He's hurt, so that's a replacement. So Toumani Camara should be named a replacement, but like Brandon Miller's on it, Grady Dick's on it. All those guys I'm cool with.
All those Brandon guys Miller's out for the season, so there's another spot.
So a lot of those guys, they're going to get subbed. But then like, all right, Grady Dick. Okay, he scores points, but like Toumani Camara is better than Grady Dick.
He is.
Keontae George, please.
Get out of here.
Like Keontae George, he plays a ton of minutes. He has played in 6 wins in like 4,000 minutes. I just made that minutes number up.
Is anybody watching Portland? Like,
maybe not. So like Scoot made it. Okay, Scoot, good. Scoot also has that high draft pedigree. He's a known quantity. Like there is some name recognition involved in this stuff. We're making an entertainment product. Pick the people you know, which also is why I'm surprised that like Donovan Clingan didn't make the rookie team. But Koulibaly made it. Trace Jackson Davis made it. Okay, you and I like Trace Jackson Davis, but Trace Jackson Davis over Toumani Camara, that's dumb.
Honestly, not having Clingan and Edie on, like, they got to get Clingan in there. But I need to see Clingan and Edie play together.
Also finishing the sophomore squad, Cason Wallace, good. Doing playing important minutes, playing great defense for an amazing team. Jaime Jaquez made it. Sorry.
Why?
He's had I don't want to say horrible year. He's barely used, been good, including him over like Anthony Black didn't make it. I think Anthony Black he's been like,
fun.
Jaquez over Black is dumb to me. Jaquez over Camara, an absolute outrage. The rookie team.
Did Khalil Ware make it?
So Khalil Ware, this is interesting. So Khalil Ware so that was just the sophomores I read. The rookies, Dave. Khalil Ware did not make it. Khalil Ware is by far the betting favorite to win Rookie of the Year. Dave, this also offends me. Are you not watching basketball?
Well,
Khalil Ware has played like 8 games.
I think, Keith, you may have just stumbled onto something.
Yeah.
It's why people are constantly talking about stuff that's not the fun games that we're watching.
Yeah.
I can't believe that this season has been overrun by the punditry complaining about stuff when the basketball games have been this much fun, but they're not watching. That's why they don't know that Toumani Camara is awesome.
Yeah.
That's why they don't know that Khalil Ware looks like, shorter Wemby sometimes.
I mean, hey, Khalil, I don't want to discount Khalil Ware looking great. Going to carry some people to fantasy basketball championships. That's right. I went back for a third time. No, Khalil Ware. All right. So he finally got some burn, and he put up some big 20 and 10 games. I understand if you say, listen, he's going to play the rest of the year. It makes sense for him to be the Rookie of the Year if you project it out. But like Jalen Wells has started on a top 5 or 6 team in the NBA all year. And he's played heavy minutes. And like Zach Edey also starts for that same team. Like Steph Castle's played some great basketball this year.
Alex Sarr's been better.
Alex Sarr has really improved. So like it's not that he's just a favorite. He's like a prohibitive favorite. Where it's does Vegas know that he's just going to get like 30 minutes?
Well, it was like Jared McCain. Remember Jared McCain had
Jared
6
McCain,
good games. And it was like, he's the Rookie of the Year.
Jared McCain was named to the Rising Stars game. It's just a bit of paperwork for the basketball reference page, but of course he'll be replaced. He's out for the season. So the guys who made it, Jalen Wells, Zach Edey, Steph Castle, Jared McCain, Alex Sarr, Yves Missy, all of these are great. Tristan Da Silva, good job. Dalton Connect, he's 4th in scoring among rookies, good. Reese Shea, good. Bub Carrington, okay, he plays a lot. I don't really think any of these are big snubs. I do like Khalil Ware. I think it's just funny that he didn't make it as the betting favorite for Rookie of the Year. I think Donovan Clingan probably deserves to make it in, but honestly, picking who I would take out is a little bit difficult. Yeah. And so that is where I'm more sympathetic. I would probably put Clingan in over Carrington just because I think Clingan, he's 3rd among rookies in blocks. But also Carrington has played a ton of minutes and he was a lottery pick and you give the Wizards some representation there.
Sure.
I don't think anyone else was snubbed. Sorry.
Sarr made it, right?
Sarr made it. Yeah. I don't like, sorry, Ryan Dunn, Modest Buzelis, Keyshawn George. The only other rookies I think who have maybe like an argument, but not a strong one. Mainly, Dave, my outrage centers on Toumani Camara is a good basketball player. Like, I just think like he's not a scorer. He doesn't put up stats. Right. And so it's, I don't know.
He's an amazing defender though.
That kind of bugs me. He's a guy, which I might be wrong. He's a guy who already projects to me to be one of those 5th starter types.
Right.
We're talking
Danny Green,
conference final level team. Maybe he's a super sub, but he seems like he plays the kind of basketball which is rebounding and defense and being that spacing 3-point threat. He's got good size. That's what everybody wants to fill out their rosters. Yeah. Anyway,
but elite at defense.
Absolutely.
At defense.
Yeah. Dave, let's take a quick break and then we will do a listener submitted question and the awards segment of the program.
Any questions?
It is now time for the croissant questioner. All right, Dave. Ryan Kirkpatrick wants to know, what's the most degenerate thing you can trade under the CBA? Your coach, he says. Next follow-up question, what's the most insane thing teams should be allowed to trade?
I think the coach is kind of an insane thing to trade for, right?
Yeah.
Definitely trading a coach seems like the craziest thing.
Could you trade your team's colors, your branding colors?
I don't think so.
You say, listen, Jazz, I want to be purple.
Look,
I want Kings. I want a monopoly on purple.
No, but if you wanted to be purple, you just do what the NBA teams do now and just make a purple jersey. How often, Keith, you turn a game on, you flip a game on, you're like, oh, okay, who the hell is playing? Why are both teams wearing shades of blue?
Do you know this, Dave? Are you allowed to trade for a front office member? Are you allowed to trade for a GM?
I don't think so. It's like they wouldn't be covered by the CBA. I don't understand the coaches being covered by like trades. That's more of an organizational thing. I'm assuming the coach has to sign off. I don't know. I've never thought about it, to be honest with you.
Could you trade for a game ops? Like, hey,
yes.
Hey, the Bulls, man, that Benny the Bull popcorn thing kills me. I die laughing every single time. I can't believe how funny it is.
And if
he throws popcorn on everybody.
The Nuggets want that guy to be Rocky.
I would try. If I were the Suns and I got those 3 first-round picks for my 2020-31 pick, I would say I'll trade you 2 of those bad first-rounders for Benny the Bull's antics. Just to improve the quality of life.
Just for the bits.
Just for the bits.
This is like a magician buying
This is buying jokes for a stand-up, but it's a magician buying
yeah. So the Suns, the gorilla, he's not as good as he used to be. You're saying he's washed, he's still passive, creative people.
Dave, still find it offensive. Can't handle Suns gorilla.
Honestly, it makes no sense.
Yeah. Benny the Bull's elite. I love it.
Yeah. Whatever happened to the human Hugo, the Hornet?
Hugo, does he still exist?
I don't know.
No, you're talking about Basketball Man.
I'm talking about
they have a giant Hornet that's Hugo, I know the Hornet.
But I thought they had.
Are you talking about the humanized blue guy?
Is that Basketball Man?
I don't know what he's called, but yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, that guy was on NBA Jam.
Yeah.
No,
yes, that's literally the only memory.
Because I'm talking about that. I'm talking about the Moneyball scene where he's like, "And you fund our clubhouse, soft drink machine or whatever." Like we need some of this.
So those are actually prohibited by the CBA.
If I'm the Grizzlies, I'm like, listen, y'all can we turned down Jake LaRavia's 4th-year option. You can have Jake LaRavia if you will fund our social media account to post more Grizzlies highlights during the game. I think budget cuts have the Grizzlies down to posting like 3 highlights per game. It's like, how are you not employing someone?
They got a team of 1.
How are you not employing people to just like post Grizzlies? The FanDuel, what is it? FanDuel TV, the regional sports network, like they go whole games without posting on social media. It's like, what if if you could fund our social media account for 2 weeks?
But yeah, I don't know. I do think being able to trade the coach is probably the
limit.
Yeah.
What about announcing teams? What if you're the Warriors and you're like, listen, these guys,
Vince is too good.
We know these guys suck. Like everyone hates them. Everyone hates them. Okay. Everyone hates them.
Really good.
What if we could get the Nets broadcast team? What if we could get the I like the Pelicans broadcast team, but like the Pelicans are a cursed franchise.
Yeah.
What if the Pelicans be like, listen, we need some extra help in the draft. We'll trade you our TV squad.
Everybody's trying to get Charlotte's announced team, right? Like
they're fun and it's a bit much all the time.
What about Houston? See, I really like Houston.
Really, I can't stand Houston.
See, one of my favorite things about Houston is they will celebrate the other players from the other team. They will like if a opposing player. I mean, the Grizzlies constantly trying to dunk on people.
Yeah.
The Houston announcers loved it.
Yeah.
Loved it. I like that.
All right. That's a good question, Ryan. I'm going to keep thinking about it. Thank you for submitting the question.
There must be some stuff that is just like, and again, I've taught the CBA before, but like, there's nothing that's implicit in the CBA that seems kind of insane.
Yeah.
But
it seems like eventually some circumvention where it's like, hey, we'll give you an Amazon
Bitcoin.
Prime original. We'll give you a Prime Video. Oh yeah. Anyways, if you want your question to be answered on air, you have to be a Patreon supporter like Ryan. To do that, join up at patreon.com/Fastbreak Breakfast. If you join over there, not only will we maybe answer your question, you get access to an exclusive bonus episode every month. I dropped one a couple of weeks ago. Also, you can join our listener Slack channel, patreon.com/Fastbreak Breakfast. All right, Dave.
I have a question for you.
Yeah, what's the question, Dave?
Which jersey retirement is worse for Vince Carter, or worse to us for Vince Carter
than Vince Carter?
The Raptors or the Nets?
We've been through this.
Yeah,
we've been through that. I think the Nets one is just strange because he had like one good. They had one good year with him. The Raptors one makes sense if you ignore the fact that he quit on the entire franchise. I thought you were going to mention Andre Iguodala getting a jersey retirement.
That also is weird. That's what got me there because I was thinking about Vince doing his jersey and then the Andre thing.
I don't know.
It's odd.
Yeah. Anyways, Dave, let's do the awards segment of the program. This is the International Stackhouse of Pancakes Award given to the worst performance in a box score. We have several honorable mentions. We have Bogdan Bogdanovic, 0 for 9. By the way, Bogdan had a streak, I think it was 110 games where he'd made at least one three-pointer. That was snapped. He went 0 for 9. Tyrese Martin, 1 for 10. DeAndre Hunter, 2 for 14. Keontae George, 3 for 15. Steph Curry, 4 for 17. Scotty Barnes, 6 for 21. Cade Cunningham, 9 for 26. I believe only 4 turnovers in that game. Those were our honorable mentions. We have 3 nominees this week. First one, Tosan Uwama, a player whose name I know how to pronounce because he was on the Grizzlies last year. He's on the Nets, if you don't know. In a loss to the Suns, Tosan was 2 for 15, 6 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, 3 turnovers, 1 personal fouls. Next up, Paolo Banchero. In a loss to the frisky Trailblazers, Paolo was 1 for 14, had 8 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 blocks, 5 turnovers, 1 personal foul. And before putting in his trade request, De'Aaron Fox in a loss to the Nuggets, 7 for 24, 17 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, 2 turnovers, 2 personal fouls. So we have Tosan Uwama, 2 for 15, 6 points. Paolo Banchero, 1 for 14, 8 points, 5 turnovers. De'Aaron Fox, 7 for 24, 15 points, 6 assists. Dave, this is a thunderous Paolo victory. Do you agree?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good.
Oh, yeah. Was that the Franz comeback game?
I don't actually know.
I can't remember. Some of these Magic games have run together. Just
I did see the stat. I did see the stat that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if the Magic have Paolo or Franz. What truly matters is if they have Gogo Batadze. The Magic this year only 1 win without Gogo Batadze.
You know why?
Oh, Dave is holding. Dave is holding
winner,
up.
Keith.
If you're on YouTube, he's holding up his Georgia national team picture. Goga, born
That's
winner.
My guy.
My top free agent target for the Grizzlies this offseason. Man, it would have worked out great. I mean, Edie's been good. Don't get me wrong. Would have been a nice asset to have. Anyways, congratulations, Paolo Banchero, on this week's International Stackhouse of Pancakes Award. And with that, Dave, we got to wrap things up. I'm on a time crunch. I do want to recognize, by the way, Bronny James. He played a little bit in the last game, and JJ Redick was like, yeah, he wasn't very good. And it's like, yeah,
disaster.
Why are you playing?
No. Okay. The Lakers go
it's rude. Why
Philly.
Are you playing?
They go into Philly in a game that they should win.
Yeah.
Like one of these games that they should just pick up. And by the way, this is after almost blowing a game to Charlotte. And they played Bronny in the first quarter with a 9-point lead.
Yeah.
And it was gone immediately. And I mean, listen, man, like, there's a point where, are you a basketball team or are you an exhibition?
Do you know what Bronny James's field goal percentage is this year?
It's less than 10%.
It's 6.
Yeah.
You remember that movie Black Sheep? It was like the David Spade, Chris Farley.
Yeah.
I think sort of a Tommy Boy sequel in spirit.
Right. Yeah.
The one joke that I remember liking from it, maybe it didn't hit me right when I was a teenager. The one joke I liked was like a cop pulls him over for speeding, and the cop's like, "Do you know how fast you were going?" And he goes like, 70. And the cop goes, 6. So that was so Bronny James
brownies and drive.
Bronny James is 1 for 16 for the season, 6%. By the way, looking at some bad shooting percentages, these are some guys also, maybe you could say rising star snubs just based on name, but like Cody Williams, he's shooting 30% for the year. Tajon Salon shooting 31%. Reed Shepherd doesn't play, shooting 31%. That's why they got left out. I'm going to give a couple of shout outs though. Here's some kudos to you to end the show. Shea had a 54-point game. Ty Jerome went 8 for 8 from the 3-point line in a game in the past week or so. Daniel Gafford had the game of his life. I didn't pull the stats up. I just wrote game of his life. I feel like wasn't it 31? It was like 31 like points and 7 blocks.
Yeah.
Or something, as the Mavs deal with losing Derek Lively.
Everybody.
And everybody.
Maxey's out,
basically. Yeah, I think that does it. We're 1 week from the trade deadline. Jimmy Butler has no home. De'Aaron Fox wants a new home. Everybody else, I mean, I don't know what teams are going to do. I don't even know who's buying. Like the Warriors see their season sliding away. The Sixers are about to give like the 8th pick to the Thunder. A lot of fun stuff. The Bulls aren't quite bad enough, but also, by the way, Zach LaVine got a week-long paternity leave that just happens to line up with the trade deadline.
Oh, listen.
So you know what? You're going to take a few games. Just go and take it through. Let me see. Yeah, through next Thursday. Just take it through next Thursday. That's fine.
Would you rather have Zach LaVine or De'Aaron Fox?
Am I the Rockets?
No. Just like you're going to build a basketball team.
It's a great question.
Zach LaVine deserves some respect. I feel the guy's a good basketball
I feel like
player.
The wings who can create their shot and shoot 3-pointers with the outrageous efficiency that Zach LaVine can, a little bit more rare.
Yeah.
And you can find a point guard usually. So I don't know. It's a fair question.
Build around Zach.
Thanks everybody for listening. Dave, thanks for hanging out. Listeners, if you want to support the show, do that patreon.com/Fastbreak Breakfast. You guys are the best. And remember, breakfast is the most important thing.
Yeah, never apologize for being G&G. Fastbreak break, man. You understand?
I will remember